Hello. Well, thanks a lot for coming here, so many people. I hope everybody finds a place, otherwise we'll sit on the front. Here next to me is Jonathan Puckey. I'm Luna Maurer, and we are actually a team of 3 people, and this is Roel Wouters, seen on the screen. And we are an interactive design studio based in Amsterdam. We're called Moniker. And since 2 years we are operating under the name of Moniker, and before that we were operating on our original names. And we will make the presentation like that. I do the first half, Jonathan does the second half, so we won't start to argue at all. And as Moniker, we are very much interested in designing environments in which design can slowly happen or evolve. I guess this is a very familiar term to you on this festival. And so we are very much therefore also interested in digital media or technology because of its core characteristics of this dynamic aspect. But not only in that, but also in the buzz. You hear the buzz? Well, I don't know anything about it. But also in people, or even crowds of people, and see how they can influence the design process. So we like technology, but we really like the influence of people a lot, and therefore create something more than, yeah. And so we have almost, specialized is a big word, but we've investigated a lot in methods, how we can, how much freedom or how much limitations do we need to set for people to join in order that it works, that the thing that changes or evolves is interesting. So I will show a couple of examples or talk about a couple of thoughts related to that, and Jonathan continues then. So before actual visual work, I start with our conditional design manifesto, which happened, it's quite old now, it's from 2008, because actually there was also Edo Paulus, a sound artist, and we met in my kitchen. And we came together every Tuesday night to write down or to discuss the themes and the topics that we thought we were interested in which way can we describe our mentality, because we were working all across disciplinary, like from music clips to performance to books, all kind of media. So we narrowed it down to call it conditional design. And so the manifesto is also something, it contradicts almost the idea of fluidity and change that we proclaim, because it's a statement almost, but we also take distance from it again, you know, but it's good to have that once written down for yourself. So it consists of 3 parts. It's the process, the logic, and the input. So the process is that what is interesting, the ongoing thing. The input is we say that we have to design conditions, frameworks with logic, and then we state that the input influencing the process should come out from outside, from the external world, like people, nature, not from within, not data generated from within the machine. So that's at least what interests us. And in order to, after these Tuesdays, we've made the manifesto, we thought, okay, let's continue just making small exercises in this, on my kitchen table, to not only, to try out these things. You see here back then how it looked like. All of these Tuesday evenings we published on a website, on a platform called conditionaldesign.org, and you see here different snippets of the workshops we did. So I would like to talk briefly a little bit more about what happened. So after coming, it slowly turned out to be the best medium to use pen and paper, because the pen is a very direct way to translate your thought and to translate your expression. It is immediate, and you can put a lot of things in a pen, and it's also very practical because it's only, you have 3 hours in the evening basically, and So it happened to be paper. We sat, the four of us, around the table. We even had the same color pen every Tuesday, and we only every week somebody else thought of instructions, what we would do, what we would draw. And in fact, they were basically, you could even say they were algorithms that we were writing down, so that we were executing. But sometimes they were more mathematical, sometimes they were really free, that only a human would understand. And in this case, this one is related to hatching, and everybody was assigned a certain angle of drawing. And so what was interesting in these nights were that not only, very much also, it was of course interesting the visual result. You wouldn't know what kind of drawing would come out. We would just iterate and continue the rule, and in the end we would have really, is it an emergent drawing or not? But that was one idea, but what was really important also the mix between, on the one hand, being very limited with these instructions, on the other hand, we have a little opening for like personal expression, you could call it, or trying to steer the design in a certain direction. So you had this personal choice or aesthetical choice, the possibility to steer it. So this mix of those two elements was really important, and also the engagement. And also another really important thought was the dynamics that were happening next to the real output, because we were really serious executing this drawing. We took it really serious, and we had a lot of discussions. Is it not your direction? No, it's my direction. Or we were even fighting, well, you were drawing not straight enough, and so forth. So we were true to the limit. And these dynamics between each other were really, really nice and interesting. But also even what did I want to say? Yeah, doesn't really matter. So the fantasy that it triggered. Sometimes you would have an abstract drawing, but we would all of a sudden see a duck, and then we only would talk about the duck, for example. So we had really, really funny discussions going on, or dialogues while drawing going on. So I quickly show you, and this is how it looks like at the end. So what we always would really like, if you see in the result, although we say that's not so important, is that you see the process, that you can even read the rule or the instruction in it. Another example here of these workshops was the kaleidoscope. One person is a leader for 15 seconds, and then the next one is the leader, and the other three have to point mirror the leader. And this is of course very difficult because of your human brain. And so this deals a lot with the mistakes and the human imperfection. So if you look at the drawing, it's the only thing that you focus on. Oh, where did it go wrong? Because this is where we got a lot into trouble. So we found out there's sort of three modes of fun in these exercises. Like one was like always overcome the human limitations. The other one was also the strategies. You need the other person in order to draw your line in a certain way. And the third one was the storytelling. This is really good, really bad. The book, you see. We made a book after 3 years doing these things because we found out that the processes, the things that are going on, what I just described, is interesting to all different kinds of people, to designers, artists, but also outside of the field, in any domain, in fact. So we, in the book, we chose 4 different workshops to explain a little bit more about. And always on the left side you see one frame of a drawing, on the right you see one part of the rule. So this is a very simple one, trying to drive a perfect circle. And as a side note, this book is printed in the 4 original colors of the pens. So the focus lies only on to reproduce the drawing as perfect as possible and neglect the rest of the photograph. So our skin got pink, which is a really nice side effect. Here's a couple of examples, stuff we did. And then we have a glossary also in the end of the book, which is quite nice to mention, because we selected a certain terms that we use a lot when working, and how we fill it with what kind of meaning or what it means to us. So in this case, freedom, limitations, arbitrariness, control, mistake, choice, logic, all this, we use those words, but what we mean with it is maybe a bit different than what is in the dictionary. So only by reading the glossary you already understand quite a lot of our way of working. So this is our studio attic right now, where we work in Amsterdam. And we have decided to continue doing workshops, because it's so valuable what happens there, only within the team of our studio. But under a new name, we call the platform now Thursdays.studiomoniker.com, because we wanted to start more free, fresh, go away from the rule-based drawing, you could say. And so we have mounted here a beamer, projector, lamps, and so forth, and we do all different kinds of experiments, and it doesn't matter whether it looks good or not. It's all it's very important just to be totally free. We work right now a lot with dynamic input. So the projector, we have a projector mounted that projects down on the table, and projects down on the table. So yeah, we have worked with dynamic input. And this is an example recently we did where it's Photoshop's canvas, and you have a digital operator and a physical real-world operator, and they play together. So there's you use the selection tool to create an empty free space, and operate. Yeah, the manual, the person with the line has a line bouncing free space, and they react to each other live. So it's very nice and an incredibly simple idea, and we just do these things every second week differently, and maybe it grows into a project. Maybe it doesn't grow into a project. That it's nice to be. I continue with a real-world project, let's call it, where we have been in a very intimate setting, the dynamics only within this workshop setting, small group. Now this one is taking place in a big, in a public space. This is in the Contemporary Museum in Amsterdam, Stedelijk Museum, where we were asked to do something where the visitors become more active. Quite a free brief. And we were wondering, how can we not control, how can we deal with a big group of people, a crowd, and try to how can we control the crowd, in fact, with, in this case, again, with drawing. So what we did is, instead of thinking of using the people, doing something for the people in the space, we thought we use them for us, and they should help us to make a collaborative animation movie. So the project is called Your Line or Mine. The website is yourlineormine.com. It already addresses the question, your line or mine, who's the author in this dialogue. And how it works is like that. You have a table, as you just have seen, you have 3 tables, and there you have pens, paper, a scanner, and a slate. And you have to take a pen, draw on the sheet, scan your drawing. The middle one is the scan scan number 2, and then after you scan it, you leave it behind, and then your drawing automatically is part of the animation projected on the wall, what you see here. So there are 3 tables, 3 colors, and 3 concepts, you could say. I will talk about these a bit later. So how do we make animation then? And we thought we'd develop a skeleton with dots and have an instruction on the sheet itself. And people have to answer the instructions, and in a time-based, it would make animation. So we had to pre-print all those thousands of sheets of paper. The instruction in this case was draw a perfect circle through both dots. Since you have several frames, and you see a growing circle. And we have developed like hundreds of instructions through the 3 movies. And but the most simple one is basically this one, where you have 2 dots, and the dots don't move, and the instruction is the same. So it's just draw a perfect line between the 2 dots, or a perfect line, a straight line. And only by playing that in time, you will have, of course, this shivering line, which thematizes the handwriting very much, and the uniqueness of each line. So, do people draw careful, sloppy, quick, slow? Yeah. So, or you have different ideas. You have the same position of the dots, but you can interpret it differently. So, draw 2 mirroring triangles, and everybody can draw it as they like. You have different ways of filling it in. And I show you now the first of the 3 movies. It starts quite simple, becomes more complex. So here in this case, the dots are different scenes. The dots are not animated yet. In the other ones they are. Well, first maybe I should mention it was very funny to edit, to design a movie without seeing anything on the dots, because we only write down the instruction and we edited. We had the soundtrack, and we edited, composed basically the scenes, and then just now slowly we see what we get in, and yeah, it's all constantly also changing and developing. The project started in December and it's running until I think June. It's quite a long time, so possibility for a lot of variations. And well, to show you this problem of participation is if you ask for a diagram line, this is what you get. Because this is, of course, it demands also this idea of, okay, do I now execute exactly what they ask from me, or do I have my own ideas? So you trigger the people would sort of stay within what they asked, but they also try to find the border of it. So it is a game between a, here I'm the author, or you are. And also, I mean, some people would exactly do what we ask, but then they are aware of that they're working for the bigger whole, that you are trying to, yeah, because you want to together make the good in the end. There's, we've been asked a lot also, could you design it in such a way that you cannot mess up, that you, yeah. And in this case, the left side asks for connected two dots that are closest to each other, and you see what people do. So we also realize that as long as they use the dots for their drawing, it doesn't really matter so much. So in that sense, it all somehow works. And also it makes it also rich, the diversity of it. I quickly show you a short fragment from the second movie, so you see the difference. This is where the dots move themselves. The other one, I showed you the third one, the difference to that one is that the dots are, it's a more organic animation, and this one we programmed, actually with Paper.js, and so there's no cuts in it. This is just one rule that I show you, 2, 3 rules. And because we had, I mean, this is now on December, and it's a very huge success. People love apparently to draw. We didn't know how much we could expect, how many scans, how long should the movie be. So we thought within these 8 months we would have maybe 2 rounds of the movies, and we're already in the 8th round. So the museum unfortunately has to print so many sheets of paper, it gets quite expensive. And but we have the chance that we can pick the nicest drawings, because so we made afterwards only the reviewing website where you see on the left the different frames, and then horizontally you see the different versions of it. And here to give you a little bit of insight, this is also what people love to do, to make love messages or marriage proposals, and that they get out later when we send it out. But it's really this medium to engage with, the drawing, it really works. And then there are also drawings that sort of work within the instructions, but they are made with different ideas by using shading or different dimensions. They don't work as an animation. And then you have the nice ones, the hackers, because I didn't mention the barcode yet. It works like that each sheet has a barcode, and depending, it doesn't matter what order you scan it, it always comes at the right position in the movie. And the people that have discovered it, they know how to make a blue frame in the yellow movie. So that is Yeah, then I have to show you the website, which is lunamaurer.com, where every day it's a new animation rendered in the website. There's like 20,000, more than 20,000 people scans, and yeah, we're actually quite interested in doing this project in a different country, just compare how would it be executed, how would it be drawn in, yeah, let's say Asia. Okay, that's it. I hand over to John.
So I'm going to show you actually a series of 2 other projects, and they're more in the digital realm. Although that project, of course, is also in the digital realm. And I give you a little bit of an introduction. 50 years ago, Douglas Engelbart invented the computer mouse. And he was an American engineer and inventor, and one of the very early computer and internet pioneers. And he founded this place called the Augmentation Research Center. And he sort of, like in this Augmentation Research Center, they focused on sort of developing technologies that would basically help humanity to deal with more complexity and to sort of it would augment your intellect, so it would make you more intellectual. And in 1968, his working group gives a really nice demonstration of this system called Online. And this presentation has actually got the title of the mother of all demos, which is basically, it's the coolest computer demo ever. This is in 1968, and amongst other things, he demonstrates multiple windows, hypertext, video conferencing, revision control, and a collaborative real-time editor. So like lots of crazy stuff, but also the computer mouse.
Okay, there's Don Andrews' hand, Menlo Park. And in a second we'll see the screen that he's working, and the way the tracking spot moves in conjunction with movements of that mouse. I don't know why we call it a mouse. Sometimes I apologize. It started that way, and we never get changed. Alright, as it moves up or down or sideways, so does the tracking spot. And the principle for its operation of it. Why do you see the seed? You'll turn it over, Don. Can you hear me, Don? Would you turn it over? We'll see, right. Its principle is that there are 2 wheels that roll on the surface. But since they're right angles and kind of sharp edges, one roll and the other slide in one direction. Each of these wheels controls the potentiometer with the voltage output, sampled by an 880 converter, the numbers taken in by the computer to sample.
So this mouse was like invented before I was born, and I've like used it throughout my personal career computers. This was my very first graphical user interface, the GEOS, which ran on my Commodore 128. My brother went into the dark side, and he had a Windows 3. And I was really stupid enough to buy a Mac at that time. And it's funny because I think like now is maybe one of the very first times that I feel maybe that I'm a bit old. Like, you know, there's now like a movement going towards touch, and I think that aside from it being a technical, like just a technical change, I think it's also a very big cultural difference. Like I grew up like pointing at things, and the kids now they grow up and they're touching things, and I think that must be like a big difference. So with this thought in mind, we thought, well, why don't we make like a series of projects around this computer mouse, like this pointer? Like, you know, let's talk about this. So the first project I'll show you is Pointer. And Pointer is actually, I'm just going to find my cursor. Pointer is just like a little. Let's have to move this over. So Pointer is a project that we did on the side, like in the weekend one time. We had we developed some technology for another project, and we repurposed this technology, and we were playing around, and we made this website. And you come onto the website and it says, please move your cursor. And And then when you move your cursor, it says finding pointer, please hold still. So, okay. And then it shows an image of someone pointing at my cursor. And then I move around again. My favorite is the top left corner. And we kind of like did this experiment like also because we kind of wanted to point at this pointer, because in a way this thing sort of, you know, like we live our lives with this thing, like we're constantly using it, but we realize it. So I kind of like, we kind of wanted to point it out. Let's go to my keynotes. Now, because this is a bit of a technical conference, I thought I'd show you some like generative design, but this is not really, like this is in the back end of the website, which you can't really see. In order to like really quickly find this image that someone is pointing at, like the point location, we have this Borno diagram, and basically, if you can see my cursor, like depending on where I am on the image, it can see like which color I am over. So we have like 912 images in total, and I have 912 unique colors. So depending on like if I go over this color and I get that pixel, like that is behind, like on that location, I know like which image is like linked to that color. So that's the geek stuff. But it's really slow. Point to point is like a really slow thing. So I have this like hardcore algorithm going on, and it maybe takes me like 3 milliseconds to find the location, but then it just loads really slowly. Like a lot of programmers were complaining about in Hacker News. And actually, like we built in like we made it really slow. We made it artificially slow. Like we built in like a timeout, so that when you're visiting the website, we basically, without that we're doing anything technically, we're just making you wait. And it sort of brings in a rhythm that you are waiting for something to happen. So your mind is sort of predicting maybe like a possible outcome, and then it happens. And I think this idea of rhythm was really important to the project, because I remember I showed it to my girlfriend at the time, and everything she said was like, "Why is it so slow?" So I was very happy that people understood it when we launched it. This is the second in the series. We were approached by a band in Amsterdam to make a music video for them. And the band is called Light, and they're really small actually. They're pretty much unknown. But the two guys on the left and the right, they are this group called ZZZ, and we did a few music videos for them in the past. And a few years ago, we came across this video from this guy called Skinny Coder. And this video basically shows a number of people that have played the game of Gladius. And these played games are all overlaid. So you can see like all these people are playing the game at the same time. So I'll show you. And this stuck in our minds for quite a few years, because we thought it was so great. Like we had this idea, like what if we would take an image? Like you could take an image and you could ask like thousands of people to sort of point at the most interesting part in this image. And then if you overlaid like all those decisions of all those people, like something must emerge, right? Some kind of like pattern must come out. So we thought, well, we can do that with these pointers. So like we can sort of maybe come up with instructions that like what people should do, and then maybe something happens, maybe it goes very wrong. Like like it's a good experiment. So this was like one of the very first technical tests, just to see like what kind of image emerges like when we just have all these people like moving at the same time. So with this in mind, we thought like, okay, so how can we sort of, like what kind of questions can we ask from people? Like what do we want to know? And how can we also sort of make them move in interesting ways? Like we recently won a prize for motion design with this project, which was hilarious to us because we are not motion designers. But it sort of made sense, like we had never thought about it, that we were like designing their motion. So a few questions, where do you want to go? And then we show like a world map. Or we say like, stay in the green zone. And then we show this like abstract thing. Or we show some green blobs. Or we ask people to please don't touch the model. Don't show a model. Or we just say smiling. We show people a yellow circle. So this project, it's called Do Not Touch, by the way. And you can visit it on donot-touch.org. It's a website, and when you come onto the website, the music video basically starts playing straight away, and it says to you like that we will start recording your cursor, and please follow our instructions. And then you can actually see like there's a big cursor here. That's you. That was like one of the things that came out of the user test. But we had like originally like your cursor was as small as all the other ones, and you kept losing it. So yeah, so I'll play. So this just as the Your Line of Mine project, this video is regenerated every hour. Now it's actually every 3 hours. So it's like continuously updating. So every like quite a few times a day, there's like another version online.
You
So, yeah. So, okay, I just thought I'd show you like a really boring graph here, just to show you with maybe people who don't make these kinds of websites, like it would be interesting to see like how these things tend to work. You get lots of visitors on the first day, and then you get lots of less visitors like on the after that, basically. But it also means that the way that you make the website, you have to like code it very defensively. It has to scale. If it goes viral, which is really annoying because you don't know if it's like you don't know if what you made is interesting for people, so maybe it doesn't spread around at all. And then, as a coder, you spend like weeks and weeks and weeks of with lots of headaches for nothing. But when we put this thing live, it really went around quite quickly. At its high point, it had 15,000 visitors looking simultaneously at any moment, always. I don't think any kind of like service that I could have made would have been able to withstand that. So the way that we solved this was we actually, instead of doing it live, we record people's cursor positions, like while you visit the website, and they are uploaded to Amazon in S3, these cursor positions, and then every hour, like we have with the Mac Mini at the studio, and it just downloads the cursor positions like really slowly. And it just, like, we wrote like a video compositing application or software to actually render into the video these cursors. So actually, when you're visiting the website, you're just watching like a rendered video. That's for the geeks. Now some little insights into the video. Like, what the hell are these guys doing on the top left? I don't know. They're turning circles, and they do it always. Like, there's always people in the corner turning circles. I think maybe they're testing out if it's real or not. Like, it would be like my way of finding out if it's real or not. I would do that. And then check back in an hour and see, like, is my cursor there or not? But we really like this, that, especially with this project, that there's space for dissent. Like, there's space for that you choose not to answer the questions. That we're not editing out anyone. So if, you know, as long as enough people follow the things that we propose, a pattern emerges, and people can mess around too if they want. So, yeah. So this guy is still in the video. We really like that a lot of people went onto the or when we asked like what do you prefer, and also like when we asked like what are you, a lot of people also went to the or. With the map, it's quite funny that depending on the time of day that you look at it, there's tends to be like a different distribution, of course, with some parts of the world are sleeping and some are awake. And also depending on, like, of course, in which country it is popular right now. So we had like an Asian moment for a while, and that changes over time. And we kind of built this scene in as a sort of this idea of like self-censorship, that it would like censor itself pretty quickly. And it did, but one thing that was surprising to us was that most people like go outside and they stand still, like they don't move anymore. They're really like, I'm not touching the model, like, you know? And then the people that are touching the model are really touching the model. And to conclude, also that the internet decided that smileys have noses, which I was also like, I didn't notice it. Like very short, I know this is like totally politically correct to do job offers at this time. We are like a small studio of 3 partners, and we're looking for like a designer technical guy to come join us. So if you're like looking for, or if you're interested and you want to come live in Amsterdam, like come talk to us, and maybe we can work something out. So, but we just want one. So.